Welcome back, guys, to Phoenix Wright, Spirit of Justice, where last episode we extricated Nyuta from Khura'in's grip. His confession retracted, and now the alibi that Khura'in had kind of made up has now all gone away. With Nyuta now burning with the spirit of the Defiant Dragon, he will never yield as he joins us to remove Khura'in from her bloody throne. To that, we have accused her, and the judge says, "Would you like to say anything in your defense?" "Not so fast, your majesty. For the cuffs could have been stolen and used without my knowledge. So you see, they can hardly be considered proof of anything." "Why? I believe you're right." But we know she's guilty." "Well, lawyer, is there any other evidence you would have me refute?" "Unfortunately, this photo was the last piece of evidence Dirk left for me. So as far as evidence goes, I've got nothing else regarding that case from the past. However, now that Prosecutor Samadi has retracted his confession, we'll have to re-deliberate the current case from scratch." "Yes, the defense speaks the truth. Even though it is clear who the guilty party is. Queen Khura'in. The defense accuses you of the murder of Justice Minister Inga Karkul Khura'in." But do you have any evidence, defense?" "Evidence that will prove Khura'in was the killer. There is still one more avenue for us to explore, Mr. Justice." "There is?" "Minister Inga's final memories. In them, the minister's killer posed as Dirk. Therefore, one must ask, how did the killer dispose of their disguise?" "Hey, you're right. A lot of blood would have spattered onto the killer, so the blood-soaked clothes would have to have been dealt with somehow. If they're still around somewhere, then..." "I was wondering what absurd idea you would concoct next. Clothing can be disposed of most anywhere. I doubt you could find them now." Objection. "Then you don't know us very well." "Your benevolence." Yes. On the day of your father's murder, you had been watching the courtyard from 2 p.m. Now, during that time, you saw Queen Khura'in, did you not?" "Yes, I did. I saw my mother entering the palace from the courtyard, but I was told not to mention it because it had nothing to do with my father's murder." "Rafa! You would not dare!" "When the queen headed into the palace, did she have Dirk's clothes in her possession?" No, she did not." "So, maybe she disposed of them somewhere in the courtyard." "The police did a thorough sweep of the area following the crime, but they did not find anything resembling Dirk's clothes. But you knew that already, didn't you, prosecutor?" Yes, I admit no clothing was found." "So you admit that you were merely speculating, chasing phantoms and delusions of evidence that never existed?" "This makes no sense. Clothing doesn't just disappear like that. If Khura'in wasn't carrying any clothes, she must have gotten rid of them somewhere. Somewhere she thought they'd never be found." "Well, they'd never be found, huh?" "I believe Dirk's clothes were hidden here." "Well, then it has to be somewhere that no one would ever unlock because of a curse, right?" "Take that!" "The tomb? You believe the clothing was hidden there?" "Yes, it's the only place it can be." "Very well. Where in the tomb do you believe the clothes were hidden?" "It must be in the sarcophagus as well, then." "Take that!" "Of course, that makes perfect sense. The clothes weren't simply hidden, they were returned to where they belonged." "And by that you mean..." "The killer would have had to get Dirk's clothes from somewhere. Luckily, they were right there." "Yes, of course. At the time of the minister's murder, Dirk's body was already in the sarcophagus, so the killer could have simply borrowed his clothes." "Right, Before the minister entered the tomb, the killer put on Dirk's clothes, and then hid behind the curtain above the sarcophagus. And after the minister was killed, Dirk's clothes were returned to his body. So what? This is still all speculation. We know not whether these clothes were actually used in the murder. Therefore, you cannot prove that they are somehow connected to this case.
Objection!
That's where you're wrong, but I believe you already knew that. These clothes were definitely used during the minister's murder because of this. Okay, let's think. Gunshot wounds. Stab with hand blood mark, maybe? It's the clothes we're looking at. It's the clothes that are important. So, if we're assuming, of course, he was shot there, then what's this splatter? That's got to be it, right?
Take that!
I'm on the ball, maybe. The bloodstains on Dirk's chest are no doubt the result of being shot by the minister. However, that doesn't explain everything. There is also some blood spatter extending from his left elbow to his abdominal area. I believe this blood spatter came from, well, obviously Inga. And if the blood tests the correct way, if the killer wore these clothes during the murder, then the blood spatter must have come from Minister Inga. I thought it was all Dirk's, but that makes sense. Only one way to be sure, though. Let's get these stains analysed right away. Indeed, this may be the conclusive evidence we need to prove the Queen's guilt.
Objection!
You cannot prove it was I who hid those clothes. They could very well have been hidden by a third party. But could they really? I'd say the possibility of someone other than Khura'in hiding the clothes does not exist. She's probably the only one with the key to the sarcophagus, right? No, it's just not possible. Your Eminence, I recall you saying the following. The key to Amara's sarcophagus is under protection of the royal family. My husband and I are the only ones who could open it. Therefore, it would be impossible for some knave to open it. But unfortunately, one of those parties is dead. Ah! That was your own testimony, word for word. Why, you insolent! Admit it. Only you could have hidden Dirk's clothes after they were used in the murder. And that means you were the one who killed Justice Minister Inga. Insignificant worm! You dare accuse me, the ruler of Khura'in! Do not think for one moment that such impudence will be tolerated. I'm afraid such arguments are invalid here in this sacred hall, Your Eminence, because even monarchs aren't above the law. It's the end of the line for you, Queen Khura'in. Time to come down from that lofty throne and face justice. Me? Face justice? Surely you jest. You are in no position to force my hand, lawyer. Oh? Surely you haven't forgotten about the Defense Culpability Act. Those who would support criminals will be deemed just as guilty. In short, shall I be convicted of murdering my husband, your dear brother, who delivered false testimony in my defense, shall also be found guilty. What? That can't be! Can it? By delivering false testimony in the course of protecting a guilty party, he would certainly be judged by this court as having supported a criminal, and the Defense Culpability Act would most definitely come into play. But that law is so broad that anyone can be convicted under it. When it comes to the DC Act, even I am conflicted, And yet, as it currently stands, it is the law of the land. And as you said earlier, no one is above the law. Of all the absurd things I've seen, this law really takes the cake. Now what? What can we even do at this point? You need not look so forlorn. Dirk has been cleared of all charges, so let us leave all thoughts of the real killer and revolution in the past where it belongs. She wants us to just let her off scot-free. And yet, I don't see any other choice. We cannot yield to her here, Apollo. If it will move the revolution forward, I will gladly face the DC Act. Now do it. Accuse Queen Khura'in of the crime she has committed. But...
Such insolence!
What you speak of is not revolution. Our kingdom will not function without its sovereign. And Leifa cannot ascend to the throne, for she is as yet incapable of channeling spirits. Thus, to accuse me is to wish destruction upon our fair kingdom, you terrorist. Terrorist? If you would still insist on accusing me, then as ruling sovereign of Khura'in, I proclaim the following. All who imperil the crown, no matter the reason, shall be subject to immediate execution upon the Queen's orders. What? Immediate execution? Do you still not comprehend? Then let me be clear. For the sake of this kingdom's future, and in accordance with the laws of Khura'in, I command that you be put to death at once. Ah! What the? Ah. Isn't this going a bit too far? Why is the Grand Royal Guard... They will stand by in case of an attack by foolishly optimistic terrorists. Now, if you would continue to oppose me, the very embodiment of the law, then under my regal authority, you shall all be put to death.
Objection!
Oh, come on, this is insane, even for you! You can't possibly get away with something like this. This is a court of law. You can't just order our execution without due process. Now look, Apollo, truth and due process are certainly important, but so is your life, so think before you speak again. But... our only hope is another queen? Maybe? Please, Apollo, do not make this any worse than it already is. I cannot lose you to the Twilight Realm too. What am I supposed to do? How do I win against an opponent that can rewrite the law as she sees fit? How can I ever bring it to justice? Is this really how it all ends? Here's your life or your accusation, lawyer. You cannot hope for both. It is time to cease this insanity. What do I do? Should I accuse Queen Khura'in? Well, if we give up and we lose. If we accuse, then we die, right? But that said, the entire theme somewhat of this thing has been a dragon never yields. Are we a dragon? Or are we a mouse? A clever mouse that wants to run away and not get shot. You know, mice are clever in that terminology. I know what I have to do. Mr. Wright, you know that saying you're constantly reminding me in Athena of? The worst of times are when lawyers have to force their biggest smiles. You never failed to surprise me, Apollo. And the Eula, you know that creed we've known ever since we were kids? A dragon never yields. Apollo, they are not merely words. They are what's carried us this far. So now, it's time to honor these words and the memories of the ones who gave them to us. I couldn't agree with you more, Apollo. Those words are more important to me than you know. And if there's any time to remember them, it's now. It would seem, Apollo, that not one but two auspicious creatures dwell deep within you. A fierce dragon and a virtuous phoenix that shall scatter the clouds hide in the heavens. I shall join you in your death-defying bluff. I think I finally understand what those words really mean, and the resolve they embody. Are you smiling, even in the face of certain doom? Is there no end to your defiance? Unfortunately for you, no. I won't let fear or even the law force me to abandon the pursuit of truth. Because there is another saying in my country, the truth will set you free. Indeed, that is precisely what Dirk sought to do through this trial. He wished for us to break free from a certain despicable spider's immobilizing silk threads. He won't be intimidated by unjust laws or give in to fear. Abandoning the truth like that is just not a part of my playbook. There is only one path before us. Revolution. The time to make Dirk's dream a reality is upon us. Your Eminence, if you are the law here in Khura'in, then your very existence is wrong. Does your desperate bleating know no end? I know it's a bit late to ask, but what's the plan? Well, if Khura'in is going to execute us on the spot under the Defense Culpability Act, and the law itself derives its power from the authority of the Crown, then there's only one thing to do. We dethrone her. Right here, right now. Alright, but how? It's not like we have a lot of time to come up with a way to do it either. I doubt she'll allow you to perform another cross-examination while we think. Don't worry, I'll come up with something. We'll be fine. We can't give up. Not now. We have to keep on fighting to the end. We can't allow these broken trials to go on. It's time to make things right. Ah! We're in the brain! If I choose Khura'in, Nayuda will be subject to the Defense Culpability Act, which means we'll be put to death in accordance with the law. So the only way out of this is to dethrone Khura'in right now. Could this be the key to dethroning Khura'in? Rafa, Maya's channeling ability, or the Founder's Orb? Ooh. Well, why was Inga killed? I mean, this all started, actually. Maya's channeling ability could reveal a lot. Rafa can't take over because she's too young. This all started with this. And this is the point where we usually turn things up on their head, right? It all started with the need, the desire to get hold of this. For a reason, it seems, to gain power, maybe. I'd say Inga wanted it for Rafa, but I don't know. Is the Founder's Orb the key to the revolution? Well, Dirk definitely thought so. Dirk was convinced that the Orb is the key to the revolution in Khura'in's future. In light of Khura'in's obsession with the Orb, it makes a large amount of sense. She probably doesn't want anyone using it to gain spiritual power and rise to the throne. Inga definitely tried to do just that, but that's where it starts to fall apart. Inga couldn't have channeled the Founder even after abducting Miss Faye, after all. Right. Only the Queen could channel spirits. He didn't know the Founder's name. The Founder never existed. Wait, did he know? Founder never existed. Only the Queen can channel spirits. We know that's not true. So if we eliminate everything else, this is process of elimination, isn't it? Inga didn't know the Founder's name. The name of the Founder is only known to those who become Queen. That means the only people who currently know her name are Khura'in and Amara. So even if someone else has the Orb, they wouldn't be able to channel the Founder. So that begs the question, why is Khura'in so fixated on the Orb? Okay, let's not overthink this. Khura'in is obsessed with the Orb because... finally, we get to the obvious point. Cannot channel spirits, so Khura'in wants spiritual power. Could it be? It's hard to believe, but if she wants spiritual power, does that mean Khura'in can't channel spirits? That would explain why she had Amara perform the rite of channeling. Is that why she let Amara live, to stand in for it when the time came to channel spirits? With ready-made hostages all around, so if Khura'in can't channel spirits, she She would be exiled. She'd have no claim to the throne. It would look bad. Dethroned. Not a problem. Khura'in has no claim to the throne. Khura'in's Defense Culpability Act was established under the Crown's authority, but if she has no claim to the throne, then the DC Act would become null and void. No, not just the DC Act. All of the insane laws she's enacted would be swept away in one fell swoop. And loads of innocent people would have been for the chop. But at least they'll somewhat be avenged. You claim the authority of the Crown? You of all people. That's a good one. Have you truly lost it, lawyer? Indeed. I will have the defense explain himself at once. It's easy, your majesty. Why is Queen Khura'in so obsessed with the Founder's Orb? Why did she let Queen Amara live? And why was she having her mercifulness perform the rite of channeling in her place? The answers to these 3 questions point to a single conclusion. A fact that will shake this kingdom to its very core. I still do not follow, Apollo. Your Eminence, I have just one question for you, and please be honest. You can't actually channel spirits, can you? What? You believe the Queen is not capable of communing with the dead? The defense will explain himself at once. In Khura'in, the ability to channel spirits is an absolute requirement for a would-be queen. But your Eminence, if you were incapable of doing that, then you'd have no claim to the throne. Not only that, but every law you pass would be rendered null and void. And you, the Grand Royal Guard. You seem to be rather enamored with the Queen's supposed spiritual power. But what if she had none? What if she was just an ordinary person, a pretender to the throne? That's crazy talk! Impossible! Everyone knows only spirit mediums can become queen. Such blasphemy! On what grounds do you make such a defamatory claim? Queen Khura'in, if you think I'm just out to defame you, then prove it. Prove it using this piece of evidence you want so bad. Let's give it to her, because no one's going to channel it for you.
Take that!
Ha! Take what you wanted. In the place you don't want it. All the conditions for summoning the Founder should be in place. With the orb, we know what the Founder looks like. And as Queen, you should know the Founder's name. Now, if you would, Your Eminence, please show us the great spiritual power you bear as Grand Priestess of Khura'in. I'm gonna be dripping with venom. Oh, to witness Her Eminence's great power of her own eyes? The Holy Mother will appear before us. Oh, great miracle of miracles. Praise be, Your Eminence. May your mighty spiritual power show us the way. Enough! Enough, I say, you mindless cretins! Your Eminence, can it be that you cannot... No, I want a lawyer. Summon one at once.
Objection!
Aren't you forgetting something? There aren't any lawyers left in Khura'in. You can thank your Defense Culpability Act for that. Your Eminence, please give us a glimpse of your magnificent spiritual power. Summon her only so she may guide us. I have heard enough from you. Out of my sight, all of you. If you truly are capable of channeling spirits, then get on with it already, Your Eminence. You sneaky, underhanded wretch of a lawyer. That reminds me. You said something to this effect earlier. It is time to cease this insanity. Don't you feel stupid for saying that now? Indeed. Of all the things she has said, I can think of nothing more ludicrous. Apollo, teach this deceitful, putrid queen a lesson she won't soon forget. Gladly, because it really is time to cease this insanity. Khura'in, your reign of terror ends here! Very well. Demonstrating my facility as a spirit medium is simple enough. Behold the magnificent power to commune with the dead. Oh, Your Eminence! O great spirit of the founder who dwells in the Twilight Realm, heed the secret covenant of the orb, and appear here before us. Ooh, here it comes. Ah! What's wrong? You're not feeling well? Ah! Ah! Oh, Spirit of the Founder, grace of your sacred presence, the time is now, I beseech you, appear before us. Heed my call. Founder, please! Ah! Ah! No, wait. I was just warming up. The rite actually starts from now. Look. Oh, don't know that. Can't speak it. Holy Mother. Was that the thing that Nayuta chants? Oh, she's in the pool.
Prosecutor said Maddie. How is Her Eminence?
It seems she now believes that she herself is the Holy Mother.
I see. But her attempt at spirit channeling failed, did it not?
Sadly, she seems unable to accept the facts. I fear it will be quite a challenge to question her later.
And what, if I may ask, was her motive? I understand that she killed Minister Inga in order to prevent his coup d'etat. But what of her attempt to assassinate Queen Amara 23 years ago?
To become queen herself. Maybe she just craved power and attention. She likely developed a psychological complex from her inability to channel spirits. That is why she kept Queen Amara alive to perform the rite of channeling for her. In that way, it would seem as if she had great spiritual power. In short, she built a cult of personality upon fear and lies. Then again, do not all tyrants? So then, she never really intended to kill Amara, huh? What I don't understand is why Queen Amara even listened to Khura'in in the first place. Especially 14 years ago, before Rafa was being held hostage. Why would she keep letting the people of Khura'in think she was dead? While she kept quietly performing the rite of channeling for Khura'in. My mother is a gentle soul by nature, and loves her sister dearly. So when Khura'in told her to hide because Dirk was out to kill her, she believed it. What's more, she did not wish to tarnish the name of her beloved sister. That is why she acquiesced so obediently to Khura'in's request to keep channeling for her. Until she fled with Dirk and was told the truth, that is. So that's what happened. And since Rafa was being held captive, I imagine Amara had no choice but to help cover up the truth behind Inga's murder. Yeah, living secretly as Rafa's servant Naina. No doubt only deepened her love for her daughter. She'd do anything to keep her safe. That's a follow-on sentence. All the more reason to hide the painful truth from her.
Well, that was a case for the ages. Prosecutor said Maddie has been cleared of all suspicion in the murder of Minister Inga, as has Mr. Dirk said Maddie in the assassination attempt on Queen Amara. Now then, I think it is high time I handed down my verdict on Dirk and Nayuta Sadmadi.
Give me my butterflies. I like how it's Nayuta standing in the middle. And so, we revolted. And we revolutionized everything. Technically, we didn't revolutionize things because we didn't change anything. We actually set them back. So, cool. Dirk, I hope you're watching. I proved your innocence. Now you're just smiling again. And that revolution you've always dreamed of is finally happening.
With this, may I finally say, this court is adjourned.